Oh, hi. Welcome to my class. We are learning about toxin free living today, and I'm so happy that you're here. I would love to know if you are watching live. If you're watching on the replay, no worries. But if you're watching live, I would love to know where you're watching from so we can say hi to you. You're going to learn so much today. I'm really excited to have you on this class. This is probably the information that had the most impact on me and made me realize, like, oh, wow, I really need to make some changes, and they're not that hard to make. So I would love to know from your perspective, maybe if there's something in your life, like kind of what made you interested in this class. So tell me where you're from, first of all. Second of all, is there something that you're thinking, gosh, I should probably switch that product out? I think I've heard a lot about this having, a lot of toxins or whatever. So if there's something that you're interested in, mention it in the chat and I can make sure that I bring it up as well. Hi, we have Tuscaloosa, Alabama in the house. We have Washington State, you guys. Lexington, Kentucky, my little town of Morristown. So fun. So I'm really glad you're here. I have all kinds of fun stuff to teach you and show you. If you are brand new and I've never met you before, I'm just happy to make your acquaintance. I hope you'll introduce yourself in the chat box. Hi, Miss Laura. And I wanted to let you know that I'm a family doctor who has not been practicing medicine for 10 years because I love helping people with natural health. And I have found so much goodness in the natural health world that it has allowed me to move away from modern medicine to some degree. Not that I don't love it. We still need it. I still believe in it for certain things. But what I love so much about the natural health world that I'm in now is that there's so much we can do to take care of ourselves, to keep ourselves out of needing so much help there. And one of the big factors in that, you guys, is the toxins that we are surrounded by every single day. Now, when I first started hearing about this, I have to be honest with you, I was like, look, ain't nobody got time to research every product. I'm sure some of them are bad, but who's got time to do that, right? How many of you raise your virtual hand or tell me in the chat if you're like, yes, this has been my problem. Like, how do you know? Isn't everything just bad for you, basically? And that was the trouble that I had when I was introduced to this. And I'm thinking, I don't have time. I'm a busy mom. I got a bunch of kids. I don't have time for this. Stay tuned because I have the easy button for you. And this is what made it possible for me, a busy mom, working from home, taking care of my family. This is what made it possible for me to start living a more natural lifestyle without having to go get a PhD in environmental science, right? I mean, ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm going to give you the cliff notes today. There are lots of places that you can research this, but I really want to open your eyes to a few things that you are exposed to in your own home and how you can easily switch those out. And then you just learn as you go. So you don't have to tackle the whole thing today. You just learn as you go. You do what you know, right? You do what you can do until you learn to do better, and then you do better. So I wanted to give you this quote, though. I really love this one. This was from an environmentalist who said, "What we face today is not an occasional dose of poison, which has accidentally got into some article of food, but persistent and continuous poisoning of the whole human environment." Another one from a scientist in the Natural Resources Defense Council said this: "We're quietly becoming genetically modified by toxic chemicals. With toxic chemicals, we keep being exposed until we're certain it might cause harm. That means that we're waiting for data, and that data is often dying people. They are people who have birth defects and disabilities, and that's not science we want to be waiting for while we would continue to learn about exposure to toxic chemicals." So one of the statistics that I have always been interested in since I first started learning about this whole new world is that if you look at what the average person today is exposed to in terms of amount and toxicity of the things that they're exposed to, compared to what somebody was exposed to 50 to 75 years ago, even, what you'll find is that we're exposed to more toxins in a day than our great grandparents were exposed to in their lifetime. So I often like people to think of it like this. Like, if you think about people who lived 100 years ago, are we healthier or are they healthier? Tell me in the chat if you think we're healthier today or were people healthier 100 years ago. This is like a no-brainer question, but until you learn about this stuff, you might go, well, we have all these advances in science and we have all these advances in how, we do food production and all of that. But I can promise you that we are way more unhealthy than people were 100 years ago. And most of it is because of what we're exposed to on a daily basis. So your average mom is exposed to 300 chemicals in her own house every day. 300 toxic chemicals in her own house every day. Almost 100 of those before you leave your bathroom in the morning, you guys. So the stuff you're washing your face with, your hands with, what you're washing your hair with, the makeup that you're putting on, the skincare that you're using, right? And I used to always think, because you can probably tell with my dyed hair and my Tammy Faye eyelashes, that I am not naturally a natural girl. And I remember thinking, yeah, well, then you can't use anything. You can't use anything good. And what I have found is that you most certainly can. One of the most, I would say, asked questions I get these days is, what are you doing for your makeup? I'm 50 years old and people say all the time, gosh, it looks like you're reverse aging. When I look at your picture on Facebook from 5 or 6 or 8 years ago, you look 20 years younger than you did 7 years ago. How are you doing that? That is the power of natural products, you guys. That is the power that you can access when you give your body what it needs and protect it from so much of what's available on the market today. The other thing that I, really, that one of the studies that really got me that I read a few years ago was that if you take samples from the umbilical cord of newborn babies, you will find, and this is not drug babies, this is not babies who are at high risk. These are from normal middle class American moms. When you take samples from the umbilical cord of newborn babies, there are 285 chemicals in there that babies are not supposed to be exposed to, that they're being exposed to from their mom because of how she's washing her dishes and how she's washing her clothes and what she's putting in her body in the form of food, and how she's, using makeup and lotions and all of that. It really is incredible that we are swimming in a sea of toxins. And so what I love to teach people is it doesn't have to be that hard, because if I told you, and I've got, 14 pages of notes, I'm going to spare you from most of them. But if I told you what is in most of what you're using to clean your house, take care of your personal care items, a lot of what's in your food, if I told you what it's full of and what the things that are in it causes, you would literally be like, what? So I'm going to go on a little short list and just share with you what you can expect from the products that are in your home, especially chemicals that we use to clean with: asthma, coughing, skin rash, shortness of breath, sore throat, headache, dizziness, nosebleed, cancer. Wow. And there's a list there's a list a mile long of what we are exposed to in an average day in America. And it doesn't have to be that way, and it doesn't have to be super hard. So I'm going to tell you kind of from my perspective how I see it and the things that I did and the order that I did them in. Okay. So first of all, I want you to think of it like this. In the 1950s, there was this introduction of a bunch of chemicals into American life. And it made things easier. It made things easier to be produced. We could produce things in mass quantity. It made a lot of life, we thought, easier, right? I can see why people were like, yay, we have a product that will such and such and such, right? And those chemicals got grandfathered in, and we really didn't know the extent of how they would affect our health. It was never investigated. It was never like, oh, let's see what happens when we expose people to this product over and over and over. No, now we're finding out what happens. People get sick, they get chronically ill, they get asthma, they get arthritis, they get cancer. Now we know it disrupts their hormones. One of the big things it does to females and to young girls, it disrupts our hormones. We have infertility rates like we've never seen before. And those chemicals were basically grandfathered in. So we just live with them every day. A bunch of them that have been outlawed in Europe, like you can't use these products in Europe, but in the good old USA, we can still use them. And what we have to do is we have to inform ourselves and be willing to hear this so that we can make change. And you don't make all the change overnight, but I promise you there's an easy button that I'm going to tell you about. But I want you to think of it like this. So 100 years ago, I want you to think about how people took care of themselves, y'all. I want you to think about your average, probably farming family back then, right? Your average family. How did they take care of themselves? What did they do every day? Well, most of them did some kind of physical labor. They moved their bodies every day. I go to a physical therapist, and across, as you walk in his office, it says, movement is medicine. We currently live in the most sedentary lifestyles ever known to man, y'all. And movement is literally medicine. So people back then, because they had to physically work hard, they didn't have to go get a gym membership to do it. Now, I pay good money to go carry heavy kettlebells and pretend like, they call it a farmer's carry, pretend like that I'm carrying heavy pails of milk. And I pay to do this so that I can keep my body moving. But if you look at the average American, we're not moving our bodies. Movement is medicine. Second thing, how did people eat 100 years ago? What did they eat during the day? They ate things that they grew around their house. It was literally table or farm to table. They ate from the animals that pastured around their house. They ate food that they had grown or that they had put away for the winter. They ate food that they knew where it came from. Guess what most of us eat? Most of us eat frankenfood that's full of chemicals. It's not even actually food. And our bodies are not designed to handle that level of chemicals. So if you look at the back of something that you're about to eat and you can't pronounce half the things on there, your body can't metabolize them either. So one of the major differences is we're eating chemicals for food. We eat chemicals and we call it food. I read a study recently that 70% of the produce that's produced in America tests positive for pesticides, and more specifically glyphosate, which is Roundup. So almost anything that you can buy in a box or a package has been made from a farm that has been sprayed with Roundup. And if you test the urine of most people in America, 95% of us will test positive for Roundup in our urine from food that we're eating, where the basis of that food was grown on a farm that was sprayed with Roundup. And now we are eating that, and it disrupts our gut health. It acts like an antibiotic in a way in your gut and makes you resistant. It's crazy town how much exposure we have to pesticides. And it's so prevalent that even if you're buying organic food, those pesticides are in our rainfall. So 70% of our rainfall contains glyphosate. So we literally are eating poison all the time. So eating food that is closer to the way God made it, eating food that you can pronounce, eating food that We'll talk about some ways to make sure it's clean, washing it off with a good, safe fruit and veggie spray. I often tell people that when you're in the grocery store, think of the grocery store as like a big box, right? And all the crappy stuff is in the middle, and the stuff that you should be eating is on the perimeter. So when you first go in the grocery store, there's all the produce and the fresh food, the food that God made, the food that you can pronounce, the food that, grows somewhere outside or comes from an animal. That's what you'll find on the perimeter of the grocery store. And the reason you don't find a lot of labels to read there is because it's just real food. It doesn't necessarily need a nutrition label because this is the food God made that we were designed to eat. And we currently are filling our diets with things we were never designed to eat. And your body can't metabolize that. So what does it do? It stores it. It stores it in your liver. It stores it in your fat. It tries to find somewhere to store all these toxins because it doesn't know what to do with them. And why do we eventually then get cancer? Why do we eventually have chronic disease? Because we've stored toxins for years and years and years and years. And it's not just in our food. So if you think about this, great, great, great grandparent, let's call her Myrtle. If you think about, how she worked so hard physically, what she ate, she's already got a way better start than we have. And then think about how she slept at night, you guys. One of the things that's killing us is the way we don't sleep anymore. How did people sleep? When did people go to bed 100 years ago? Tell me that. When did people traditionally go to bed? I love Myrtle too, Miss Greta. They went to bed when the sun went down because they were exhausted. I went on a hike this past Friday, and it was I don't know if any of you have hiked in the Smokies very much, but it's a hike to Mount Camerer. I highly recommend it. Amazing. It's a 12-mile, almost 12 miles there and back. And do you want to know how good I slept that night? So good. I felt like I was in a coma. And when you're in your cycles of deep sleep at night, that's when your body heals itself. That's when your body restores the things that's when it tries to clean out these toxins. That's when it makes blood cells. That's when it strengthens your immune system. Like, so many things happen when you're in deep sleep. But we've got our screens, and we've got our Netflix, and we've got our sedatives or our alcohol or whatever we're using, our prescription drugs that don't allow our bodies to go through the normal sleep cycle. And it's terribly affecting our health. Terribly. So Myrtle went to bed early. The other reason that Myrtle was able to go to bed early is because she wasn't under constant stress. Guess what we live under? Talk about toxic. We live under toxic levels of stress. We burn out our adrenal glands. Our adrenal glands, which are the glands that are supposed to help us keep up with the things in our lives that are stressful, we're working them to death. And then when they burn out, it affects our thyroid. Why do you think everybody in America has something wrong with their thyroid? Because you burned your thyroid out with your adrenal gland being in constant stress all the time. Myrtle didn't live like that. She lived a simpler life. We're going to talk in a minute some ways to reduce stress, but I want you to think about how people lived back then. Yeah, they had occasionally they'd have the crop go bad or whatever, but you know what we have? We have our little phones that are literally dinging 9,000 times a day. And every time that phone dings, your adrenal gland squirts out a little bit more cortisol. And then if that notification happened to come from somebody whose political views you don't agree with, your adrenal gland squirts out even more cortisol. You know what cortisol does? Cortisol keeps you inflamed. It elevates your blood sugar. It makes you hungry. It makes you not sleep. So we do not want to be living with chronic stress. It also affects your immune system. We happen to be living in a time when we need our immune systems to be functioning the way God created them. So we need to stop the cycle of constant stress, which you partially do, by the way, with movement. That's one of the huge ways to do it. Of course, we're not moving. And so I want you to think about this too. Let's talk about Myrtle some more. Did Myrtle live most of her life indoors or outdoors? Tell me in the chat. She lived a lot of her life inside or outside? She lived a lot of her life outside, right? Yeah. You know what's outside? The good old sunshine. We get all that vitamin D. We get all those natural essential oils that come off the trees. You know why you feel so refreshed when you spend a day in the woods? Because that's the way God designed it. All of those trees and shrubs and flowers and bushes give off essential oils, which are God's natural stress relievers. They block the stress cycle. They make you feel better. They make you feel like, oh, I can take a deep breath now. And guess where we don't go anymore as a culture? We don't go outside. We spend 92% of our time indoors. And not just that, we lock it all up tight. We get our candles going, which are highly toxic to your lungs and to your hormones. We get our candles going. We get our room sprays going. We get our toxic cleaners going. We cook our toxic food. We basically lock ourselves up into a toxic soup for 92% of the day. And then we wonder why we don't feel good. We wonder why we're all sick. We wonder why cancer rates are so high. We wonder why chronic diseases are just going crazy like they never have before. It's not that hard to figure out why. We weren't made for this. Our bodies were not made for the load that they're under. And God is an amazing designer. And He created our bodies to live in a certain way, not under chronic stress. He made us to move. He made us to be outdoors a lot. He made us to sleep well. He made us to eat food He made. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we're living against everything He designed us for. And we wonder why our bodies don't work well, why we don't have energy, why we're always exhausted. It's not that much of a mystery when you think of how far we've come from how He created us. So Myrtle's outside all day. She's doing hard work. She's feeding her family food that God made. She's sleeping like a baby. And guess what she does when somebody comes down with something? Oh, Myrtle runs to her local CVS and gets a bunch of prescriptions that she can't pronounce. No, that's not what Myrtle does. Somebody tell me in the chat. What does Myrtle do when somebody gets sick at her house? She goes outside because her mom and her grandma taught her how to go foraging in the woods for things that would help. She knew there was healing power in plants. She knew there's healing power in mushrooms. She knew there's healing power in all the things that she could find, bark and all this. And she would make up a little tea or a little concoction from the stuff she found outdoors, from the stuff that God made. And her family would benefit from that. She couldn't run to somewhere in the middle of the night. It was hard to get even access to a doctor back then, right? But women knew how to take care of themselves and how to take care of each other back then. And what I am proposing today is that we live more like Myrtle, that we become educated on what things in the natural world are good for healing, that we decide that we're going to live a little closer to the way God made us so that we're not taxing our body so much with things that our body can't handle. If you take a cleaner, if you take a room spray, if you take something you're eating, or you take your cleaner and you turn it over and you can't pronounce half the things on the bottle, I want you to remember this. Your body can't either. Your body can't metabolize it. And we need to help this body out. This is the only one we have, you guys. We need to take better care of it. So what's the solution? Is the solution, gosh, I wish we could go back sometimes 100 years ago, right? Is the solution, we all need to get PhDs in, environmental science and all that? No, here's the easy button that I have found. And here's how I started to make a huge change for myself. When I came to know about natural products, my adrenals were burned out, my thyroid wasn't working, my hair had mostly all fallen out, my hormones were a mess, I was 35 pounds overweight, I hurt all over all the time. The first two things that I did, you guys, I stopped drinking Diet Coke and, fake sugar. I stopped sugar and fake sugar. I decided to try to make a few little changes at a time. The thing that inspired me to do that was this little starter kit. So I always tell people, my journey started with an easy button. I didn't know anything about toxins. I didn't know anything about all this. And when people would talk about it, I'd go, I don't want to hear it because I don't have time to get a PhD in environmental science. It's all bad for you. That's kind of was my attitude. So if that's your attitude, solidarity today. This was my easy button. And this was my introduction. This is the Young Living Starter Kit. These are all natural products that God made that help us. And what happened is I got this kit after somebody twisted my arm to get it. And I started to feel better enough, just diffusing oils, getting rid of my candles, making a few changes. I started to feel better enough after 3 or 4 weeks that I was able to give up Diet Coke and sugar. And here's what happened. I didn't make any other huge big changes in my diet, but just from giving up those two things, at least for a while, I reversed so much of what was going on in my body. And as I learned more and more about how amazing the oils are and how they work, we have cleaning products that they're infused in, I started slowly replacing things. And I'll tell you what I think you should start with if you're brand new to this journey, and it's not that complicated. First thing is you need to grab your starter kit. So that is what this is. This is the 12 oils that you need to get started. If you went on our website, we have about, 300 and something oils. You'd be confused. You wouldn't know what to start with. This is why this is easy. Easy button. Start here. And you start using the oils for just everyday things. You get your diffuser. You start diffusing instead of using candles and room sprays. Just that makes a huge difference, y'all. You can make the smell of any candle with oils. And you get oils in here that make the best aromas. You're going to fall in love with the diffuser blends that you can make. I'm sure that those of you who've been using oils for a while who are watching this class are like, y'all, I never imagined there would be so many creative diffuser blends. I have a diffuser blend going right now in my kitchen that smells just like the Anthropology volcano candle. I have diffuser blend going in here that smells just like Christmas. So you can make any diffuser blend to smell like any candle you want. Get rid of those candles and room sprays. They're bad for your health. The other thing that I find here is that this is a toolbox. This is like Myrtle's toolbox. Myrtle would go outside and forage for things. You come down to in my case, I come down here to my little office. I have a wall full of oils right there. There's something for everything. One of my kids has a tummy ache. I have an oil for that. One of my kids can't sleep. I have an oil for that. One of my kids gets some allergy symptoms. I have a little blend of oils. One of my kids is having trouble breathing, got a little cold. I got stuff I can put on their chest. I literally have my own toolbox. And you think to yourself, well, that's going to take so long to learn about. Well, Myrtle didn't complain about it. And Myrtle didn't have a Facebook group like we have that's going to help you know how to use everything, that's going to teach you exactly what you need to do, right? It was way harder for her to get the information than it will be for you. If she can do it, we can do it, you guys. I promise you that there are people who joined my oils group a month ago. And if you talk to them right now about how they're using their starter kit, they sound like they have a PhD in natural health. Because literally, it's so fun to learn about. Like, you can't believe, like, oh my gosh, I got poison ivy and I used lavender oil and it's dried it up so much. Oh my word. I was having terrible sniffles and I used Raven and I'm feeling so much better. Oh my word. I thought I was getting a sore throat and I put thieves oil in the back of my throat and I'm feeling so much better. Like, story after story after story after story like that. And you'll get so excited to learn that it won't feel like work. And I'm telling you, there are people in this chat box who know as much or more about this as I do, and I have an MD degree. You know why? Because this is so fun to learn about that you just can't get enough. Am I right or am I right? You just can't get enough, and you're excited about it, and you can't believe what you're learning, and you can't believe what you're experiencing in your own body. It's so So powerful. One of the other things that was super life changing for me right away, you get two free packets of this in your starter kit, is Ningxia Red. So I have mine right here. It's the most powerful antioxidant drink in the world. So it is unbelievable at removing toxins. Remember how we just talked about how loaded up your body is with toxins? Guess what oils do? Oils remove toxins. So the more you use these in your diffuser, on your skin, in your drink, as straight oils in your drink, or as Ningxia Red, it's got a lot of oils in it. It's a superfood drink. The more you use that, the more you start to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm getting my mojo back. I'm starting to feel better. Oh my word, I can't believe this. I'm sleeping so much better. You will notice so many changes, you guys. And if the starter kit itself is enough for you right now, that's about $320 worth of stuff for $165. That might be the place you start. I would say if you can swing it, go ahead and get our Thieves Cleaner, which this is about 6 months worth of a cleaner. So you just put a cap full of this in a spray bottle and fill it up. And there you have your natural cleaner for everything in your house. If I were starting today, I would start at least with the starter kit, the Thieves Cleaner, and 2 bottles of Ningxia Red. That's what I would start with. And you talk about 70% of the toxins in your house taken care of just there alone, because you're not using toxic cleaners, because you're using oils for so many things that you weren't before. It's unbelievable. Now, a lot of you are like, this sounds so good, but it almost sounds too good to be true. Like, how do they work so well? So let me just tell you a little bit about why they work so well and how they work so well. They work so well because God made them, y'all. So our oils that come from Young Living are extracted so carefully from the plant that we don't disrupt anything that God was doing in the magic of those plants. Now, I come from modern medicine. I have an MD degree. And I will tell you that lots of our ideas for modern medications come from plants, right? So what Young Living did is they just went straight to the plant and just got the molecules straight from the plant. So we don't extract them with harsh solvents. We extract them with steam so that they keep their ability to have the healing properties that God put in them. And when you get an oil from Young Living, you literally get a seed to seal promise that from the time the seed of this plant was put in the ground until the time it's bottled, this is undisrupted exactly the way God made it. There's no other company that can promise you that. That's why our oils work so well. The other thing that makes them super magical is their size. They're so tiny that they're able to just get into your cells so easy. So what happens with oils, the reason that they remove toxins so well is because the way they work is they're tiny little molecules and they hover up to the cell door. So this is the cell to your body, and you got a bunch of toxins in here. The molecule of essential oil hovers to your cell door, and kind of like at a hotel room where the card hovers up and it just opens because the frequency is the same. It's exactly how oils work. So they can open your cell door, allow those toxins to come out, allow oxygen and nutrients to come in. And so those molecules are adaptogenic. So even though they're not technically medicinal, they can act very medicinally because they allow those toxins to be removed. They allow your own body's nutrients to get in there, your own body's oxygen. They really have a magical effect at the cellular level. So people who use oils, they just can't believe it. They go, it's hard to believe how amazing that is and how good that works. And that's part of the reason why. God is a really smart pharmacist. I think that's why when he created us, he didn't put us in a CVS. He didn't put us in a sterile hospital room. No, he put us in a garden with all the bugs and plants and all the animals there. He put us there. Why? Because that's where we thrive. We thrive where his creation is, because he designed his creation to help us, to serve us, to give us ways to feel better. So be like Myrtle. Live your life a little closer to the way God made you. Get outside, move your body, eat food closer to the food that God made, use his plants for cleaning supplies, use his plants for medicine, and you will start to feel better in ways you can't even imagine. So the other thing that I would like to say is that with your, besides getting your starter kit, which is the only thing on our website that's half off, you guys, is our starter kit. All of us who do Young Living are like, can we just buy another starter kit too? It's such a good deal. You get your diffuser, you get the samples of the red drink, you get all those oils. The other thing you get is you get a sisterhood. You get added to my group. You get all of our last 6 years of education. We're always teaching new material. We're doing videos all the time. We're right in the middle of a fun holiday launch right now. Young Living has come out with some good stuff that we're going to get to buy here shortly. And it's just so fun to be in there. It's so fun to learn. So you get us to walk with you to make this easy. This doesn't have to be overwhelming. Choose the easy button, grab your starter kit today, and let us walk with you. Let us help you slowly change the things out in your life that are causing you problems. I noticed, by the way, you guys, that our Thieves Laundry soap just came back into stock today, or it will be if it's not on the website soon. So I use Thieves Laundry soap. We have dish soap. We have hand soap. We have fruit and veggie cleaner. We have a whole line of things for your home that just make it easy. But I would start with a starter kit. If you can spring for the Thieves Cleaner and maybe 2 bottles of the Ningxia Red, you're going to be amazed at how much better you feel. All right. Well, it's so good to spend this hour with you, this 45 minutes with you or whatever. If you have any questions, ask the person who invited you to this class. If you're here because I invited you, just private message me on Instagram and I would be happy to help you. If you're ready to get signed up with me, you go to ediewadsworth.com. If you're here because someone else invited you, grab their link. You'll still get into my group because they're in my group. And we can't wait to welcome you into our Facebook group and to help you along this journey to toxin-free living. All right, you guys, have a great day. Love you. Bye.